Welcome everybody to Cinema Royale, and it is post Oscars morning. Well, actually, afternoon for me here. It's a midday for our friend Karen Peterson over there to my left, who's out on the West Coast. And man, Karen, did anything happen last night at the Oscars? I mean, it was pretty wild, man. Not just the three hosts and surprising award wins. There were a couple, but the obviously the whole thing that broke out with Will Smith and Chris Rock was insane. And I was hosting our Oscars night party at the Arlington Cinema Draft House as usual, and I want to thank everybody who showed up for that. We had a packed house, surprisingly. After 2 years away, I was really happy about that. But man, what a mood killer that was. Uh, but we don't want to dwell the whole time on that. I just kind of want to get your general opinions on how the show went last night.
I didn't get to, I was backstage, so I was in the press
Mhm.
room, so I didn't get to
Which
watch.
is cool in and of itself.
It was very cool, and I was so excited, and I'm thrilled to talk a little bit more about that. But so I didn't get to watch a lot of the actual show as it was happening. I'm actually looking forward to going tonight on Hulu and actually watching the Oscars. But overall, my feeling on it, and just seeing the excitement of the winners as they were coming in, getting to see the parts that I did see. I think obviously there's always some room for improvement on these award shows,
Yeah,
but it just was such a fun, jubilant night,
yeah.
minus a few, keep
Right.
moments. But
I was before the show even started, they were announcing the winners of the awards that they weren't going to broadcast in full during the show. That really had our audience upset not getting to see those like full presentations. They gave you a little bit, but not the full presentation. And Dune was cleaning up in those early technical awards. I think they won like 5 or 6 before the whole show even started.
yeah,
Yeah,
5. Mhm.
yeah, 5, and they were just cleaning up. Not so much once the whole thing got going, but that was still a really good night for Dune. What'd you think?
Yeah, overall they ended up with 6 because during the actual broadcast they also picked up cinematography. So it
Hmm.
was almost a clean sweep of the technical categories. They didn't get makeup or costume design, but by the time we got to last night, it was kind of expected that that would happen. And I think, just listening to folks leading up to the ceremony, listening to what people were saying, as it was happening, I think there's just so much love for Dune and so much excitement for part 2. And just a lot. I mean, you have so much incredible talent
Hmm.
um, that won those awards. Greg Fraser, not only is his work in Dune really great, but he's also promoting the Batman right now, which
Yeah,
definitely had to have pushed him over the edge. And I would have loved to have seen Ari Wegner get that award.
that's who I thought was going to win for sure.
It broke my heart, and I really think she was close. I think she was probably even closer than people realize.
Hmm.
But I think when you combine what Greg's working on right now, which is just more visible than what Ari's been doing, I think that's ultimately what helped nudge him past the finish line. But yeah, I think Dune performed as well as expected. I don't think it overperformed. I don't think it underperformed. I do think that probably there's something to be said for the fact that Villeneuve was not nominated, and that might have even helped a little bit with the tech categories. People
Hmm.
going, well, hey, why was he snubbed for this? This is amazing. And,
Yeah,
you know,
I can
I
see
don't
that.
know if that's true, but that's just kind of one of my theories.
I can see that. And you talked about Ari Wegner not winning, and like I said, we most of us for sure she was going to win. I thought for sure that she was going to take it. It ended up being part of a disappointing night for The Power of the Dog. Yeah, Jane Campion won Best Director as expected. Although I'll be honest, when that award came around, I was like, I'm not so sure anymore, just because they'd been 0 for 11 at that point. And I was like, I don't know if she's actually going to take it or not. I mean, maybe the Academy didn't like this movie as much as I felt they did. What are your thoughts on The Power of the Dog and how it did last night?
First of all, The Power of the Dog was my favorite film of 2021.
Mhm.
So when it got 12 nominations, I was very excited, obviously. And that's not only was it the most nominations for this year, it's the most nominations by a female directed film ever.
Wow.
And going into this, I thought, wow, or Power of the Dog is gonna do some damage. And then in the recent weeks, just seeing the way that the race has gone, I actually in my predictions, I thought it would end up only picking up director, which seemed weird. I was really hoping it would win somewhere else, but I
Yeah.
just kind of had a feeling that that was the way that it was going. And when you look at where it lost and who it lost to, I mean, it had two of its 12 were in supporting actor. Troy Kotzer, once SAG happened, he was done.
Yeah.
That was a trajectory that was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And same with Ariana DeBose in supporting actor, same with Will Smith in supporting actor. That's four of Power of the Dog's nominations right there.
Yeah.
And then when you look at some of the texts, I mean, Dune was kind of unbeatable. I think it's just when you really look at each category and break it down, it makes sense why the
Right.
Power of the Dog missed where it did.
Yeah, I can see that too. It's just in the night when you're watching it, you're like, oof, another loss for that one. Oh, that
Yeah,
sucks.
and it's
But you're right though. It was going up against some really tough competition, and it's hard. As much as we like that film, it's hard for that movie to kind of stand up to a juggernaut like Dune, which just was so great in so many different areas.
it's tempting to say, oh well, they didn't give it these awards, so the Academy didn't like it. But that's kind of a ridiculous argument considering they gave it 12 nominations. So
Right?
they
Yeah,
liked it enough to consider it one of the best films of the year.
absolutely. I think the Academy likes all these films. Obviously, they do. Or they wouldn't be there. But
Exactly.
but it's easy to
There's
get into
even
that
films they
binary.
don't, yeah,
It's
there's
easy
even
to get
films
into
they
that
like that don't.
binary thought. It's like, well, they didn't vote for it, so they didn't like it. So that's obviously silly. Uh,
Yeah.
you talked about Troy Kotsur, so let's talk about Coda. I had predicted that it was going to win Best Picture. It was funny. We did TV spots all yesterday afternoon before the show, and I was the only one who was saying that it was going to win. And I just had that feeling. It's just one of those things where you're in your gut. You're kind of like, too many people love this movie and they've loved it all year. I just had this feeling it's going to win. And I think it was when it won adapted screenplay that I said it's going to win. I said for sure. That was the moment for me when I said for sure it's going to win. What are your thoughts on Coda, Troy Kotzer's acceptance speech, everything? What are your thoughts on that film and how it did last night?
So I actually think it could have won Best Picture even without the adapted screenplay win. That
Mhm.
definitely sealed the deal. Once that happened, it was like, yeah, this is over. I I started to accept that Coda was picking up enough steam that they probably would do it last week when they won the PGA.
Yeah,
That I had told myself I was sticking with Power of the Dog unless Coda won there. And once it did, I was just like, all right, I have to believe that it's gonna win Best Picture.
hmm
And I mean, that was a big night. It's the first Best Picture winner to win all of its nominations since Return of the King. And of course, in this case, that was only three and not 10 or
right.
11. But so it had a little bit of an easier road to a sweep.
Yeah,
But this is a film that I think people need to realize, and this is something that was pointed out to me by a friend. Um, the Screen Actors Guild Awards happened 4 days after Russia invaded Ukraine.
hmm
And when that happened, obviously our entire mood in this country, throughout the world, in the industry, it completely shifted. And then the SAG Awards happened 4 days later. We see the cast standing up there on stage, just so excited, so vibrant, and so proud
yeah,
of this huge moment that they had just accomplished. And they have this film that makes people feel happy and hopeful. And I think it just hit at exactly the time when people were looking for something hopeful. And that is ultimately what happened. That completely changed the trajectory of the entire race and led to what happened last night.
yeah. I was actually curious whether or not everything that was going on in the world would actually help Belfast as well, which is this kind of an anti-war film in its own way. And I was like, I wonder if this is going to help it. It ended up coming away with best original screenplay, I believe, right? That was what
Yeah.
Broniff won. Uh, as much as I really like that film and love that film and feel for everything that he put into it, I'm super happy that it managed to come away with that one win. I mean, we joked on stage that Kenneth Branagh has been doing the thing. Like, he's been going out there talking about this movie like nobody's business. I've heard him give that same speech 3 or 4 times. So I mean, I know he's been out there. So I was happy to see him get that. He's been due. He's been due for this, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has been nominated 8 times in 7 different categories, the only person ever nominated in 7 different Academy categories. And he finally wins, and it's for something that is so deeply personal and meaningful to him. And honestly, if this film was only going to win one award, it makes sense that it was an original screenplay, which is such a lovely screenplay,
Yeah.
such a beautiful film. And backstage in the press room, he came in, and someone had asked him how he felt that this movie resonates now, especially with what we're seeing in Ukraine, and he kept his focus on Ireland and Northern Ireland specifically, and how much things have changed there. And he basically was saying, look to what they have been able to do over the last 25 years and the way that they finally have been able to work their way out of this. And
Mm.
hopefully we around the world can look to their example and not take 25 years to sort out these problems. It was actually a really moving moment. I'm probably not doing justice to it at all. I'm very tired.
So we had Ariana Debose win for West Side Story. That one was, I think, as much of a lock as anything during the night. Good to see her win that. Become the first outward queer person to win that award. Thought that's fantastic. And let's Best Actress went to Jessica Chastain. I figured she was going to win that for Eyes of Tammy Faye, but that movie was so lukewarm with people that I wasn't quite sure. I was one of those categories where I couldn't be firm on my choice.
Yeah, even down to the final couple of days, I was talking to a few friends who are in the awards game, and a lot of them had switched over to Penelope Cruz. And they really believed she could do it. Parallel Mothers has just had this much longer life. I mean,
Yeah.
Eyes of Tammy Faye came out months ago, and it's been on HBO Max. And Parallel Mothers in the same time frame has been expanding into wider release. A lot of people have been coming to Penelope Cruz's performance late, and she's amazing in that film. It's
She got
probably
the
one of
loudest
her best
applause when they
performances.
showed her scene
Yeah.
during the intros.
Yeah, but for myself personally, I stayed with Jessica Chastain for a big reason, and that is the combination, not just of the transformation, but the combination of her and her makeup team and how much they have been in this together, how vocally supportive she has been of them, how she promised that she was not going to be on the red carpet when their category came up. She wanted to be
Mm.
in the room if they won,
Yes.
and she stuck to that. And I think that really resonated with people in the craft branches. I think that they really saw that mark of support, and they wanted to make sure to recognize her and reward her for that.
So overall, a good night for that film.
Yeah.
Winning best hairstyling and makeup and this award as well. Really good night for that film. Probably more people will come around and look at it now. I do think she's fantastic. I think Andrew Garfield is underrated in that movie too. By the way, so
Yeah.
I think he quietly had the best year of any actor, any actor working. All right, so let's talk about The Thing. Just not for too long, because I don't want to dwell on it. So so we had Chris Rock going up there doing the best documentary, and of course he cracks a really lame joke at Jada Pinkett's expense. G.I. Jane 2. Most people under 30 probably had no idea what he was talking about. But she is someone suffering from alopecia, and it was a tasteless joke. And of course, Will Smith went there and smacked him in the mouth. And the place where we were at, me and Tim were two guys trying to keep everything light and trying to host the thing, and this was one of those situations where everything went quiet, and everybody kept turning to us to ask us if this was real or not, and we were like, dude, it looks real to us. It looks real to us. And we of course remember in 2016 when she boycotted the Oscars that Chris Rock was hosting, because Will wasn't nominated for a concussion, and he made jokes at her expense about it. Chris Rock made jokes at her expense about it. So Tim and I remembered that, and we were like, there might be a little bit of history here too, on top of this bad joke that he told. Um, this was obviously a really crappy night. It pissed me off that it stole the moment from Questlove, because no one in our building even saw his speech because they were not even looking at the screen anymore. Um, Will sort of apologized. He gave some really crappy speech after, I think that was just garbage, but and covering his own ass in a way. But you were there, and you, like you said, you were in the back, you were in the press area. What was it like there during this whole thing?
it was interesting because we didn't get to see a lot of this show because of the way the press room works and people coming backstage to talk to us. But it just happened that we were all watching at that moment. It was just kind of this gap in between winners. And because we were getting the live feed, we weren't just watching like a TV broadcast. We saw everything that happened. We knew
And you heard
immediately.
everything too then. So that
We
means you heard
heard it
everything.
all too.
Yeah.
We heard the
Yeah.
uncensored version of that. And we knew immediately that this was not an act. This was not part of the script. And, a lot of people were immediately like, oh my gosh, what is Will Smith doing? He's gone crazy, or whatever. And I just thought it was definitely a bad moment. I'm not defending him for it. He should not have done what he did. But what I did think was I need to step back here. This is totally out of character of anything I've ever seen from him publicly.
Yep.
And so I have to assume that there's a lot more to this situation that I don't know and don't understand. So instead of immediately passing judgment or condemnation on Will Smith, I thought,
Yep.
I'm just going to sit back and listen to what other people have to say about this. And I'm glad I did, because Twitter is full of all kinds of terrible, terrible takes.
There's a lot of really
As it
bad
always
takes
is.
today.
Yeah, but I'm just like, it was unfortunate, but I think the biggest disappointing factor in all of it was how much it really took away from Questlove having this huge moment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just about him winning an Oscar, which was significant and exciting, but it was also, he has been very vocal all along, and he was especially talking about this backstage, that this isn't just about him. This is about shining a light on this very important moment in history, the Harlem Music Festival.
Mhm.
And so his chance to really give that a bigger moment was taken away from him. And that's really unfair.
Yeah, he was really giving a heartfelt speech too. I reposted it on our site. So I really want people to see and finally get a look at what he was talking about. That really bugged me about the whole situation though. And people, because this year the Oscars were produced by Will Packer, and a lot of people I've seen people who have their own agenda. Oh, he's letting the asylums run the place, and
He's from the asylum, yeah.
yeah, because you had two Black people get up in a fight on national TV, and and it's stuff like that. Those kinds of takes that are coming out about it too are just like the kind of thing that I didn't want to see happen on this Oscars. That's really an important Oscars, and they're trying to rebound from last year, and people are trying to come back and have confidence in them going back to the movies again. And I really wanted this to be a really like flawless show. Like I knew it was never going to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect show, but didn't need this. It really didn't need this distraction.
No, and it was really, obviously it was unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but it completely changed the mood. I don't know what
Oh
it was
yeah.
like after that,
It
watching
went
the
off the
whole.
rails from there for me. Even when they went to like the in memoriam, it felt weird. And I was just like, what is going on with this show all of a sudden?
It just, yeah, even just backstage, even though we didn't see a lot of the rest of the actual broadcast,
Mhm.
um, it just, there was this, just, the atmosphere completely changed after that. And there was no getting it back. There was no coming back from that, which was so unfortunate, because then you have these amazing wins. Jane Campion becomes the third woman to win Best Director, and the second woman in a row. And then Coda wins Best Picture, becomes the third Best Picture winner directed by a woman.
Mhm.
And so you have these amazing moments that just were completely overshadowed by this really unfortunate incident.
Yeah. First streaming service to win Best Picture as well. I know people at Netflix are probably really not happy. I'm sure they're in their war room right now, wondering what happened,
Oh,
because we
I'm
know
sure
how
they are.
Netflix is about winning these awards.
Yeah,
I know they're not
I
happy right now,
yeah.
but hey, they should have bid higher. They could have got it. They could have bought it. They could
Could
have
have.
bought it too.
Yeah, I actually just this morning published an article about this, and the reality is, and I think not enough people are acknowledging this, but Coda couldn't have won Best Picture without Netflix in a weird way, because what Netflix has done and the fight they've been waging to get streaming services and streaming films recognized and
Mhm.
accepted as a legitimate form of distribution
Yeah,
is what led to this. And
absolutely.
I think that people need to recognize that. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that Netflix didn't get to be the first streamer, considering that they have laid all the groundwork, considering how much time and effort their team has put in, and money too, let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
um but they just have done so much of the hard work of getting to this moment, and of course that's being overshadowed understandably by the fact that Apple managed to swoop in there. But as I said in my piece, Netflix opened the door and Apple walked through.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's a good way to end this episode. Plus, I've got two cats fighting over here to my left, and they're starting to hiss at each other, and they're probably going to start fighting. All right, Karen, this has been fantastic as always. Just like before, there's no one else I want to talk to about this than you. Karen Peterson, We Live Entertainment. Go read her stuff. She's amazing. She's my favorite awards writer for sure. Karen, it's good seeing you again. Let's do this again soon.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks, everybody. This has been Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com. You can find me on Twitter at punchycritic, and you can find us at PDC Movies. Thanks again. I will see you soon. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.